Welcome to this explainer. We are jumping straight into what is easily the ultimate nutritional tug-of-war of our time, the science of protein. If you've glanced at any health news lately, or even just walked into a supermarket, you know protein is literally everywhere. But the advice for getting? It's completely split down the middle. Right, so you probably feel this conflict yourself every single day. On one hand, everything from your morning cereal to your iced coffee is being fortified with extra protein, pushing this idea that more is absolutely always better. But on the other hand, we have longevity researchers suddenly waving a massive red flag, warning us that a high-protein diet might actually be putting our cellular aging on fast forward. So what's the deal? Which one is it? To figure out this paradox, here's our roadmap. We'll hit the building blocks, tackle the RDA minimum myth, make the case for more, explore the longevity plot twist, and finally, find your optimal balance. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The building blocks. What protein actually does in the body. Before we argue about how much of it we need, let's make sure we're on the exact same page about what it is. Basically, protein is a biopolymeric structure made up of amino acids linked together by peptide bonds. Think of them like biological Lego bricks. When you eat protein, your body breaks it down into 20 distinct amino acids. 9 of these are what we call essential. That just means your body cannot magically make them on its own. They absolutely have to come from your food. Your body then takes these Lego bricks and uses them as the fundamental raw material to repair your tissues, build muscle, and create absolutely vital enzymes and hormones. But here's where it gets really interesting. Protein isn't just for bodybuilders at the gym. Specific aromatic amino acids like tryptophan, tyrosine, and phenylalanine actually cross directly right into your brain. Once they're in there, they act as the raw precursors for neurotransmitters. We're talking serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, meaning the protein you eat literally dictates your brain function, your mood, and how you feel every single day. No pressure, right? Moving on to Section 2, the RDA minimum myth, decoding the guidelines. Let's look at the baseline numbers we've all been taught and see why there is a massive gap between merely surviving and actually thriving. Okay, so you have likely heard of the RDA, the recommended dietary allowance for protein. That magic number sits at 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. But here is the catch, and it's a big one. That figure was never, ever designed to tell you what is optimal. It represents the absolute bare minimum amount you need daily just to avoid a basic nutritional deficiency. It keeps you from getting sick. It definitely doesn't mean you are optimally nourished. Modern tracer studies actually show that your optimal target to thrive, build muscle, and recover effectively is essentially double that minimum. That's right. For a healthy, active adult, consuming between 1.6 and 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight is where the real magic happens. So, the crucial takeaway here is that those old 0.8 gram guidelines were based on these really outdated nitrogen balance tests. And those tests drastically underestimated what our bodies actually require to perform at their best. I mean, just because you aren't in a negative nitrogen balance doesn't automatically mean your body has enough fuel to maintain lean muscle mass, or support a robust immune system, or properly bounce back from daily stress. Section 3. The case for more. Why high-protein diets are trending. Now that we've established the RDA is just a baseline, let's look at the immense, evidence-based benefits of actually hitting those higher optimal targets. First off, if you're trying to manage your weight, protein is absolutely your best friend. For starters, it's incredibly satiating. It keeps you feeling full way longer than fats or carbs. But even more fascinating is this concept called diet-induced thermogenesis. Your body literally has to work incredibly hard just to digest protein. It burns 15 to 30% more energy during digestion compared to other macronutrients. Plus, if you're eating in a caloric deficit, it actively preserves your hard-earned lean muscle mass. It's kind of like a metabolic cheat code. Furthermore, high protein intake is absolutely vital as we get older. It increases the production of IGF-1, which dramatically boosts your bone mineral density. And it even helps your gut absorb calcium better. For older adults, eating more protein is the frontline defense against sarcopenia. That's age-related muscle loss. You see, older muscles actually suffer from something called anabolic resistance. They get stubborn. They literally require higher doses of protein per meal just to trigger the exact same muscle-building response as a younger person. And hey, let's quickly bust a massive myth right here. You've probably heard someone say that high-protein diets will wreck your kidneys. Well, the data impartially shows that unless you have pre-existing chronic kidney disease, these high intakes are perfectly safe. Rigorous 12-month trials testing intakes as sky-high as 3.4 grams per kilogram a day showed absolutely zero adverse effects on kidney or liver function in healthy individuals. So we can put that fear to rest for sure.
Section 4, the longevity plot twist. The scientific case for eating less. Okay, so just when you thought you needed to eat a massive steak for every single meal to thrive, we arrive at a genuinely fascinating biological plot twist. While protein is amazing for building muscle and bone, the amino acids in protein, particularly one specific one called methionine, constantly activate a nutrient-sensing cellular pathway called mTOR. Now, activating mTOR is essential when you want to promote muscle growth. The problem, chronic, nonstop activation of the mTOR pathway, is also recognized by scientists as a primary driver of cellular aging.
And this is where it gets wild. Animal model studies show that restricting dietary protein to just 5 to 10% of daily calories can extend maximum lifespan by over 20%. When the body senses low protein, it essentially flips a switch. It turns off the mTOR growth pathway and turns on repair and maintenance pathways, significantly improving metabolic risk factors. Which leaves us with the ultimate biological contradiction. Do we eat a high-protein diet to stay strong, lean, and physically resilient right now? Or do we eat a low-protein diet to inhibit the mTOR pathway, trigger deep cellular repair processes like autophagy, and potentially live a much longer lifespan? It's a real catch-22. Section 5, Finding Your Optimal Balance, Resolving the Scientific Tension. Let's look at how we can practically synthesize these two contradictory scientific truths in our actual daily lives without completely losing our minds. One brilliant, totally impartial solution emerging from the research is cyclical restriction. Since chronic restriction leads to muscle loss and chronic high intake might accelerate cellular aging, the answer lies in pacing. You keep protein optimally high, around that 1.6 to 2.2 target, most days of the week to support muscle and bone health. But you introduce intermittent restriction, maybe 1 or 2 intentionally low protein days a week to dial down mTOR and trigger those longevity and cellular repair benefits. It's the best of both worlds. And on the days when you are hitting those higher protein targets, how you eat it matters. Evenly distributing your protein across 3 to 4 meals is far, far more effective for muscle protein synthesis than eating a tiny breakfast and then hoarding all your protein for a massive steak dinner. By pacing 25 to 40 grams of protein per meal, you're continually supporting muscle repair and keeping hunger completely at bay all day long. Finally, relying heavily on plant-based proteins might just be the ultimate longevity cheat code. Plant proteins like lentils, tofu, and beans naturally contain lower levels of methionine. Again, that's the specific amino acid that heavily triggers the aging pathways. By incorporating more plant proteins, you can comfortably hit your muscle-building gram targets while keeping the longevity-harming amino acids on the lower side. You're effectively mimicking the benefits of a low-protein diet without actually starving your muscles. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to look at your own daily habits. Are you merely hitting the minimum baseline just to survive? Or are you strategically adjusting your plate to balance a strong, resilient health span today with a long, vibrant lifespan tomorrow? The science of protein is wonderfully complex, but by finding your optimal balance, you have the power to truly thrive. But as science continues to unlock the secrets of our cellular pathways, it really begs the question, are we on the verge of discovering a protein source that entirely bypasses the aging process altogether?